What would you do if you realize that a stranger has answers to a question you have been asking for years? Hi, this is another review with Esther. Let's get right into the video. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about The Son of the House. The Son of the House by Cheluchi Onyemelukwe. This represents her debut novel that was released in 2019. And honestly, I have to say that this book is something that every woman should read because of how much it captures the experiences of young girls and young women in a patriarchal society like Nigeria. So The Son of the House is an intimate and powerful narrative that follows two women who were kidnapped for ransom, and while they were in the kidnappers den waiting for their loved ones to pay the money and get them out, they decided to tell each other their story to just pass time. And in the course of telling each other their life stories and experiences, they realized how intertwined their experiences are, and how much Wambulu discovered that through Julie's story, a question that she has been asking for years. Wambulu is a maid that turned into a fashion designer. And during the time that she was a maid, she had a child that was taken away from her because she was, underage and all that. So for years, she had been looking for that child. She didn't know what the child is. To realize that the person being kidnapped with Julie gave her the answers to know where her son has been all these years. And Julie, on the other hand, obviously was in custody of the son, not by her own doing, but because she was struggling with childlessness. And one thing led to another, she had to, take Wabulu's son as her own. And nobody knew about that. Everybody just thought, she was the one that gave birth to the boy. So realizing that this question that Wabulu has been asking for years, a random stranger that they just started becoming friends, has that answer. It just proved how small the world is. Like when people say, oh, the world is a small place, they're actually not joking. The world is actually a very small place. You can realize that a stranger that is just passing probably has the answers to something that has been bothering you for years, or a secret that you think nobody knows, and they're just somebody that you just meet randomly, or situation just put you guys together, and you realize that wow, this person actually has the answer. So it's a very beautiful story, I must say, very beautiful. Captures the experiences of women, the struggle of women trying to navigate, the patriarchal system of Nigeria. And of course, the setting is what makes it absolutely beautiful. It's set in the eastern part of Nigeria. So in this eastern part of Nigeria, we see how deeply rooted it is in culture, how the Igbo culture works, how the Igbo culture treats women. I can't say if really a lot of things have changed with the time and advancement of technology, but in that era, that the story gave vivid descriptions of how women were perceived in the Igbo society. And yes, it was a very beautiful story. Yeah. So some of the themes that the Son of the House explored deeply were the themes of friendship. We see how Wabulu and her friend, it just shows how much female friendship can be very admirable. Like they were always there for each other, always supporting each other. This was the period where they were mates, and also it was just a very beautiful friendship to see. And there's also the theme of culture. Like I said before, it is deeply rooted in the Igbo culture. So we see how, when issues arise, how it is being handled by the elders, who gets to say what, who is in charge, the place of women, all those things. It was just very elaborating. And then there's also the theme of depression, mental illness, child labor. I have to emphasize on that. Wabulu started, she started being a maid at a very young age. And this is a system that we've seen over the years where, children obviously that come from very average homes are forced to become maids, as a means of survival for their families. So yeah, child labor is something that the book really emphasized on. And yeah, that's some of the things that for this book, I think one thing that I would say that it really highlighted in the story of Julie and Wabulu is how much pressure women are subjected to in the society. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's so much pressure in a patriarchal system. women go through a lot. Julie wouldn't have thought of, taking a child that wasn't hers, just to feel like a mother, because at the time she couldn't give birth. She was struggling with childlessness. And at the time she realized that, oh, this was a baby that nobody was willing to take. That is Nwabulu's son when he was still a baby. Nobody was willing to take the child. And that was when the thought just came to her like, oh, to be able to survive the pressure, because there's pressure from her husband's side, or, talks around her childlessness, how she hasn't given birth despite being in marriage. And then that was why she had to take the decision to, take the child and just claim ownership, like she was the one that, gave birth to the child. These things happen every day. There's so much pressure women get to. The pressure of marriage is there. If you're not married, people say, oh, you need to get married, you need to do this, you need to do that. Even when you get married, there's also the pressure of, okay, when you've not given birth to a child, this and that. So we see this play out every time and every way. And these are some of the reasons that, forces women to take sometimes hard decisions or make hard choices that on a normal day they shouldn't be making. It's just as a result of the societal pressure, that they have to go through. This is something that the book really, painted, and I absolutely love it. As a debut novel, winning the Best International Fiction Book Award at the Saja, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, International Book Fair in 2019 is no small feat. This just goes to show how universally resonant this book is globally. And I hope that you get to read it. Bye.